With an explosive rise in the cases, unanticipated postponement of exams, impending lockdown, announced lockdown in many of the states, the situation has been very tough for us so far. And for you especially, it has been a very tough situation. I can understand your frustration, anxiety and uncertainty. For you, I can just tell three important things to remember. Every hard situation has got a time frame, and this one too shall pass. It is transient. Just focus on the solution than on the problems. Just try to look at the better side of the situation. Many of you might have felt if you have few more days time, you could have had one more revision, you could have completed one or more subjects thoroughly, you could have revised few more MCQs, and this is the time. Just try to utilize this time and make yourself sharper. It's easier said, right? You are a survivor. You have survived similar hardships earlier. Studying MBBS with so many years of hard work, sleepless nights, tiresome duties, volumes and volumes to be read, this is not so easy. And you have come out of all these processes successfully. And you have come this far not to just give up, it is to win. And you will. When the going gets tougher, the tough gets going. Let's keep the momentum on. Let's keep going. This is Dr. Mahendran J, your Faculty of Forensic Medicine Toxicology, with a short discussion on the legal section. This legal section discussion will be useful for you NEET PG and INICET exams as well. I have taken few questions from the question bank of PrepLadder 3.0, the updated content. And with the change in the pattern of the questions, it is very important for you to get exposed to the new pattern of questions on the updated content. So let's start. The first question, a 30-year-old man and his parents have been arrested under IPC 314 after the death of the man's 26-year-old wife. What offences are they being charged for? Option A, abandonment of the child, death of the patient caused by intent to cause miscarriage, causing miscarriage with consent, causing death of the child with the intent to cause miscarriage. If you look at the question, in the question itself, you can see the clues. The first clue is 314 IPC. That's one thing. The question itself says that the death of the wife of the man. The correct answer is death of the patient caused by the intent to cause miscarriage. So let us look at the few legal sections which are related to the miscarriage. We call it as voluntary miscarriage. The term voluntary miscarriage, it means criminal abortion. It means criminal abortion. We have few sections on it. What do you mean by criminal abortion? Any abortion conducted outside the purview of Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, that is MTP Act, it is termed as criminal abortion. Any unlawful expulsion of the products of conception, that is called criminal abortion. And for this, there is no term. Any unlawful expulsions of the products of conception any time before the delivery, you call it as criminal abortion. Three sections associated with that. Section 1, criminal abortion with the consent of the women. With the consent of the women, it is punishable under 312 IPC. 312. Conducting criminal abortion without the consent of the female, you're forcing her. Conducting criminal abortion without the consent of the women, it is punishable under 313 IPC. 312, 313. But when you're causing criminal abortion, when you're doing an act which is intended to cause criminal abortion, but that resulted in the death of the patient, this one is punishable under 314 IPC. Just remember 312, 313 and 314. With consent of the female, without the consent of the female, any act which is done for the abortion but resulting in death of the female. They wanted to cause criminal abortion, they have inserted abortion stick, but this abortion stick, it caused the rupture of uterus, resulting in complications, and because of the complication, the mother died. It is punishable under 314 IPC. 314. And in the question, among the options which you have seen, there was also one option which was mentioning about abandonment of the child. Abandonment. Let us see the sections associated with that. If any child is abandoned by the parent or the person who is taking care of the child, this act is punishable under 317 IPC. Do remember friends, it is 317. And what is there any specific age limit for this? Yes, you have a specific age limit, that is less than 12 years. If any child under 12 years of age is abandoned by the parent, it is punishable under 317 IPC. 317 IPC. Sometimes what happens, the child would have born. Just after the birth, the child would die. The parents, without telling anyone, without informing the police, they will secretly bury, they will secretly dispose the body of the child. Or the child must have been dead born. Without informing the police, the parents will secretly dispose the body of the child. That kind of act is punishable under 318 IPC. 318. Concealment of the birth by secret disposal of the dead body. Concealment of the birth by secret disposal of the dead body, it is punishable under 318. I've told you 5 sections so far. 312 with consent of the female, 313 without the consent of the female, 314 death of the female due to the act of criminal abortion. Abandoning the child less than 12 years, 317, and concealment of the birth of the baby by secretly burying the dead body, that is 318. Remember these sections, friends. The next question. A 25-year-old college student was rescued from her friend's house in a sedated state. Further investigation confirmed that the girl had been physically and sexually assaulted. The suspect had been arrested under several charges. You know, sexual assault, you can say 375 IPC. All these charges would have been framed. But which IPC section will he be charged under for giving stupefying drugs with an intent to cause hurt or to commit offense? And this question is not about the section related to the punishment of hurt. Not about that. This is about the section for giving stupefying drugs with an intent to commit offense. The correct answer is 328 IPC. We'll discuss about that. Causing hurt by means of a poison with an intent to commit offense and to cause hurt. If the person wants to commit an offense, he first gives a poison or stupefying substance and stupefy the patient so that the offense will be easily done. It is to facilitate the commission of an offense. Do remember, friends, this is punishable under section 328 IPC. Any substance, any stupefying substance administered to the person with an intention to cause hurt to facilitate the offense. It is 328 IPC. Let me also discuss about the sections related to hurt and grievous hurt. You know very well, there is a section 319 IPC which gives the definition of hurt. And 320 IPC, it gives the definition of grievous hurt. These are the definitions. Punishment for voluntarily causing hurt, intentionally hurting someone. This is punishable under the section 323 IPC. 323. At the same time, causing hurt by dangerous weapon or dangerous means, this is punishable under 324 IPC. There is a difference. You need to note it. Causing hurt alone is 323. Causing hurt by dangerous weapon or mean, that is 324 IPC. And causing grievous hurt intentionally causing grievous hurt, this one is punishable under 325. At the same time, punishment for causing grievous hurt by dangerous weapons or means, this kind of act is punishable under 326 IPC. 326. Hurt by dangerous weapon, grievous hurt by dangerous weapon. 323, 324, 325 and 326. There is one more important act is there. We call it as vitriolage. What is vitriolage, friends? It is acid attack. Throwing acid and causing disfiguration of the victim. This act is punishable under a separate section 326A. 326A IPC. But an attempt to cause acid attack, that is also punishable under 326B. Causing disfiguration by the throwing of acid, this 326A, and attempt to throw acid, that is 326B. Both are punishable. Both are punishable. Do remember that. And as I told you earlier, if somebody gives poison or any stupefying substance with an intent to cause hurt for facilitating offense, that is 328. That is 328. Okay. A doctor injected syringe which was used before on a patient who turned out to be HIV positive later. Under which of the following IPCs will the doctor be booked for medical negligence? Here the content is a doctor is using unsterilized needle because of which the patient has become HIV positive. The doctor is using unsterilized needle. It is a negligence. It is negligence. Because of the doctor's negligence, the patient had become HIV positive. He has become infected with HIV. Under which of the section the doctor is punishable? 304A, 201, 269 and 270. Do remember friends, do not think it is 304A because 304A IPC is related to the punishment of death due to medical negligence. Death due to negligence. If a doctor has done some negligent act and the patient dies, then you can invoke this 304A. 2 years imprisonment plus or minus fine. But here the patient has become infected, that's all. Patient has not died so far. This kind of act, the correct answer for this question is 269 IPC. 269. You can note that it is a negligent act likely to spread the infection of disease dangerous to life, fatal disease. It can be HIV, it can be hepatitis, it can be COVID infection, it can be any disease which is spreading because of a negligent act. It is punishable under 269. 269. Because of the negligence of the person, it is likely to, again there is one more important wording friend, you need to note that it is likely to spread. Even it is not transmitted, even it is likely to spread the disease, even that negligent act will also be punishable under 269 IPC. A person who is not wearing mask and is a corona positive, he doesn't know that he is corona positive, he is not wearing mask, he is likely to spread the disease to another person, even that negligent act will also be punishable under 269. Sometimes people do it intentionally. If the person is doing it intentionally, it's called malignant act. Intentionally done, it is called malignant act, and this kind of act is punishable under 270 IPC. What is the difference between these two? If it is unintentionally done, that is 269 IPC. If it is intentionally done, a person knew that he is HIV positive, but still he has unprotected sexual intercourse with many female and is transmitting the disease, that kind of act is punishable under 270 IPC. You can have so many case scenarios like that. If it is unintentional act, it is 269. If it is intentional act, that is 270. Another important thing which you have to notice, if it is likely to spread, even the act is likely to spread, that act is also punishable. Sometimes doctor is negligent. If a doctor is negligent and the patient just got hurt, patient suffered hurt, simple hurt because of negligence, this act is punishable under 337 IPC. 337. Causing hurt due to rash and negligent act. Sometimes because of the doctor's negligence, the patient might have got grievous hurt. Grievous hurt due to negligent act of a doctor. That kind of act is punishable under 338 IPC. I can tell you in sequence friends, because of medical negligence, if the patient has got hurt, 337. If the patient has got grievous hurt, there is a loss of limb, there is a loss of power of the limb, patient has lost vision, patient has lost hearing. If it is grievous hurt, in that case, it is 338 IPC. but because of the doctor's negligence, patient died, then it is 304A IPC. Death due to medical negligence, it is 304A IPC. Death due to medical negligence, 304A. Just remember the sections in sequence, friends. It's very important. A 40-year-old officer has been arrested after being named by a 27-year-old employee for harassment. Among the various charges being registered against him, one offence is charged under 509 IPC. 509. What specific offence is being charged under? That means, what is 509 IPC meant for? Public nuisance under alcohol influence, inquest, exhibitionism, act intended to insult the modesty of a female. Do remember, friends, if a person is causing public nuisance under the influence of alcohol, misconduct in a public place, that is punishable under 510 IPC. Misconduct in a public place. Okay. Inquest we know it is a procedure. So it should never be IPC, it should always be CRPC. And you know very well there are two types of inquest followed in India. One is police, another one is magistrate. Police inquest is given by 174 CRPC and magistrate inquest is given by 176 CRPC. Which is superior? Magistrate inquest is superior. Which is most common? Police inquest is most common. Do remember that. The third option, exhibitionism. What is this exhibitionism? Exhibitionism is an act the person achieves sexual gratification by showing his private parts, by exhibiting his private part, and that is also an offence. You can punish the person with the section 294 IPC. 294. But here 509 IPC is asked for, and the 509 IPC is a section which gives punishment for an act intended to insult the modesty of a female. Do remember, friends, it is about insulting the modesty of a female. Very important terminologies you need to remember. Very important terminologies. Let us see the section. Any word, gesture, or an act intended to insult the modesty of a woman. This kind of acts are punishable under 509 IPC. Uttering sounds, making some sexual remarks, displaying some object to insult the modesty of a female. All this is eve-teasing. Usually, case of eve-teasing will be booked under this 509, and you need to remember insulting the modesty of a female. There is one more section where it is outraging the modesty of a female. Outraging the modesty of a female, that is called indecent assault. And indecent assault on a female, which will be punishable under, do remember, friends, it is 354 IPC. 354. Insulting the modesty, outraging the modesty. Insulting the modesty, that is 509, and outraging the modesty of female, that is 354, indecent assault. And in 354 IPC itself, we have got 4 important subsections. 4 important subsections are there. 354A, that gives punishment for sexual harassment. Harassing a female sexually, asking for sexual favor, asking for sexual demands, passing remarks of sexual favor, showing pornography to a female. All this is harassment. If any male harasses a female sexually, 354A. 354B, this is a section that gives punishment for forcefully disrobing a female, making a female naked in a public place. Forcefully. Disrobing means removing the dress. 354C. 354C, this is a section that discusses about the definition and the punishment of what is called as voyeurism. Voyeurism. You know what is voyeurism, right? Voyeurism is otherwise called as peeping Tom. The person, the male, achieves sexual gratification by watching the private acts of a female. By watching the private acts of a female. What are the private acts? Taking bath, changing dress, having sexual intercourse. All these are private acts of female. If a male sees that and achieves sexual gratification, that perversion is called as voyeurism and that is punishable. 354C. And there is one more section, 354D, that will be giving you the definition and punishment of what is called as stalking. Stalking. We see so many cases of stalking in newspaper every day. Very often we come across. It's very common. Following a female in spite of her disinterest, clear disinterest. In spite of her disinterest, following a female, not only in person, even through social media, calling her continuously, repeatedly texting, all this amount to stalking, and that is punishable under 354D. Do remember, friends, I was telling you 4 subsections: A, B, C, D. A for harassment, B for disrobing, C for voyeurism, and D is stalking. Cruelty of Mrs. X. For dowry by her husband, Mr. Y, and in Indian law, this kind of cruelty is punishable under dash. Make a note of it, friends. As soon as you see dowry, don't go for 304B. This is not about 304B. Here, the woman is subjected for cruelty alone. There is no mention about the death of the female. If there is a mention about the death of the married female within 7 years of marriage, due to the demand of dowry, then you can think of dowry death, then 304B will be invoked. But here, it is only about the cruelty. It is only about the cruelty, and this cruelty will be punishable under 498A. This is 498A. Do remember, friends, very important. And what is the first option? 304A. We have already seen that. This is the one that gives punishment of patient death due to rash and negligent acts. Death of any person due to rash and negligent act, 304A. But for us, medical profession, patient death due to medical negligence, it is relevant. Now 304B, this is the section that gives punishment for dowry death if the female dies due to the demand of dowry under other suspicious circumstances, then we can say it is 304B. If there is no death, only cruelty, then it is 498A. 498A. Let us see the section. If the husband, not only husband, but also the relative of the husband of a married female, subjecting her to cruelty, this kind of cruelty will be punishable under 498A IPC. 498 IPC. I am not specifying the punishment, exact punishment for so many sections, but all this is not so relevant for us. The sections which are related to medical profession, if we know that, it is enough. It is sufficient for us to know the sections related to medical profession, and it is very, very, very rarely that you get questions on the exact punishments. Okay, so do remember, if the woman is subjected to cruelty by the husband or the in-laws or any relative of the husband, then this kind of cruelty is punishable under 498A IPC. 498A. Moving forward, a 25-year-old female has come to your private clinic for the treatment of injuries suffered due to alleged rape. Rape. It's a case of rape. She has got injuries and she has come to your private clinic for the treatment. You as a doctor refusing to treat this case and referring the patient to the government hospital, and the doctor is telling that this is a private clinic, this is a case of rape, this is a medico-legal case, you need to go to a government hospital so that you can get examined, it is a police case, this is a private clinic, I cannot examine you, I cannot treat you, go to a government hospital. A doctor referring such victim of rape without treatment, that act is punishable. That is punishable, and under the section 357C CRPC. 357C CRPC. This is very important for, not only for exam, friend, this is important for exam, but not only for exam, this is also important for your medical practice. If you as a doctor practicing medicine, if any victims of rape or vitriolage coming to you for treatment, you cannot refuse treating the patient. You can never refuse to treat the patient lawfully. As per law, we have to treat the patient under section 357C CRPC. Do remember friends, it is CRPC. What does it say? What does this section mention? It says that all the hospitals, whether it is public hospital or private hospital, government hospital, run by another management, doesn't matter, every hospital shall immediately provide the first aid treatment or the medical treatment free of cost to the victims of rape. Not only rape, but also vitriolage. And after giving this treatment to the patient, it is your duty to immediately inform the police. Do inform the police. It is a legal requirement by the 357C CRPC. Right? You can see there are multiple subsection here. All the hospitals shall give immediate treatment, first aid treatment, free of cost to the victim of rape and vitriolage, and police intimation has to be done by the doctor. And do remember friends, if any doctor is not following this, violation of this particular section is punishable as per section 166B IPC. Now see, you see the difference. It is violation is punishable. Violation of this section is punishable. The punishment will be given by IPC 166B IPC. Violation is punishable under section 166B. Okay, 357C has to be followed. If that is not followed, 166B as per section 166B IPC, it is punishable. And when you are examining the rape victim, under what section you have to examine? That means which is a section that gives the procedure of examining a rape victim. You need to do examination of victim, rape victim examination has to be done as per section 164A CRPC. It has to be done under the section 164A CRPC. The procedures, as per the procedure given in this section, you have to examine. You need to get the consent. Consent is mandatory. You need to have a female attender or a female staff nurse. And all the protocols have to be followed as per the section 164. And what about the section that is related to accused examination? Accused examination, when a police is giving request, as per the police request, you want to examine the accused. What is the section associated with that? The section is 53A CRPC. 53A CRPC. By using reasonable force. That means even without consent, when the police is requesting, you can examine the accused by using reasonable force. That is 53A CRPC. This accused is 53A, whereas victim is 164A. Both are CRPCs. Which of the following is a grievous injury under 320 IPC? I've told you earlier, 319 gives the definition of hurt, 320 gives the definition of grievous hurt. Emasculation, privation of joint, fracture of bones, bruise over the face, dislocation of elbow. Right? Let us discuss about it. What is 320 IPC? Do remember friends, we have got 8 classes under it. 8 classes are there. We need to know the 8 classes. The first one is emasculation. What is emasculation? Loss of potency of a male. There can be a direct injury to the genitalia, or there can be a spinal injury because the person became impotent. L1 injury, person became impotent. That is grievous hurt, and that is 320. Loss of sight of either of the eye. Permanent. It should be a permanent loss of vision. Grievous. Permanent loss of hearing. Permanent loss of vision. Permanent loss of hearing. Loss of any member or joint. Joint, you know, wrist joint, shoulder joint, elbow joint. What do you mean by member? A member is any part of the body having a separate function, which if removed, you cannot replace. Your little finger is your member. Nose is your member. If you remove your nose, if you lose your nose, you cannot get it back. loss of nose, loss of member, loss of little finger, loss of member. Sometime your little finger will be there, but your power is lost, loss of power of any member or joint. The person is having upper limb, but he is not able to use upper limb because of nervous injury. That is loss of power. That is grievous hurt. Disfiguration, permanent disfiguration of face. Do remember, friends, it is not only face but also head. As per 320 IPC, even the head is also mentioned in that section. Disfiguration, a big scarring in the face, throwing acid, disfiguration, it is grievous hurt, permanent disfiguration. Fracture or dislocation of bone or tooth. Even a hairline fracture will also be grievous hurt. You cannot say it's only hairline fracture, it will heal by itself. No, even a hairline fracture will also be considered as grievous hurt. Any hurt which endangers life. What do you mean by that? Any life-threatening injury, a stab injury in the abdomen. It may not be affecting the eye. It may not be affecting the hearing. It may not be affecting the member of body. It may not be affecting your disfiguration. It may not be causing fracture, but still it will endanger life. Stab injury in the abdomen, still it is grievous hurt. Or if the person is not able to do routine activities for 20 days, or if he is in severe bodily pain for 20 days, then you can call it as grievous hurt. The person was not able to eat 20 days. The person was bedridden. He is not able to take bath. He is not able to change dress. He is not able to eat. All these are ordinary pursuits of life, and he is not able to do that for 20 days. You call it as grievous hurt. Just mere admission of the hospital admission for 20 days is not grievous hurt. You should severely restricted. You should not be able to do routine activities. Then you can call it as grievous hurt. You do remember the 8-point, friends. All the things will be amount to grievous hurt. Now let's retrospectively go back to the question, which is grievous hurt. Emasculation, yes. Impotency. Privation of a joint, yes. Loss of a joint, it is grievous hurt. Fracture of bones, definitely grievous hurt. Bruise over the face. A bruise over the face is, see, bruise does not give any scarring, right? So it will not cause disfiguration. And the bruise, normally it will heal within 2 weeks. Within 14 days, the average healing time of a bruise is 2 weeks, right? So definitely it will heal without any problem. So it is not a grievous hurt, it's a simple hurt. Dislocation of elbow, definitely. Fracture or dislocation of elbow or any joint, it is grievous hurt, it is also grievous hurt. And all the grievous hurt, when any person is convicted to have caused grievous hurt, under what section is punishable? Do remember, friends, he is punishable under section 325 IPC, punishment for grievous hurt. And if the same grievous hurt is caused by a dangerous weapon or mean, then it is 326 IPC. 326 IPC. So yes, friends, I have discussed few MCQs which are needed highly. So for more explanations, you can just follow my video lectures, and for more questions, you can follow the updated question bank Prepladder 3.0. I pray God to give you the love, the strength you need, and the success. Wishing you all the best. Thank you.